So yeah, when I'm back from Florida, Red invites me out with one of our old classmates from college. He invites me out to the bar with this friend and a handful of her friends. I say, sure, let's do it. I was happy that she invited me out, and I was a little wary at first. I remember calling Triss and asking her, what does she think? Should I go? Should I not go? And Triss was like, if you think you'll have fun, then go. But just know. So I ended up saying, sure, let's go. It should be fun for me to get out now that I'm back in LA. It'd be fun for us to hang out. This was her first time meeting the classmates' friends. You know, we've known the classmate because we had class with her, but her friends that were coming, we've never met before. So Red comes over to my house while I'm getting ready. And then we end up going and meeting them both at the bar, meeting the classmate and her friends at the bar. Me and Red got there before anyone else, and so we headed in early. I remember the security guard patting me down, but he never patted down Red. And then we go in, we take a few pictures in this photo booth, and then by the end of it, there's like 3 different photo booth things that print out, and Red just goes, you can keep all of them. I don't think she just wanted to have any of them, but that also was a signal to me that, like, we're kind of drifting apart because you don't want to keep any. You know what I mean? It doesn't have a sentiment to you. But besides the point, the friends finally came. They were in the parking lot, so Red's like, okay, let's go back out and meet them. They're pre-gaming in the parking lot. So we leave. We pre-game with them in the parking lot. We're meeting them. Their friends are fine, whatever. And then we come back inside, and the same security guard pats me down again. I understand. I mean, odds aren't I wouldn't have brought in anything with me, but I understand if someone's coming in, you have to pat them. But he patted me again, and he didn't pat any of them. And immediately, like, I think everyone was really jokey about it, and I was, like, playing along with the joke too, but I still thought that it was a little weird, and the night was fine. But by the time we were getting ready to go home, they were all going to go drive to McDonald's. Granted, the friend that was driving claimed that he was sober because he only had 1 drink, and it was forever ago. And I believed him, and I wasn't really nervous about anything happening. However, my parents in those recent times expressed to me, and like they always have, they said they don't want me, you know, driving even if I'm slightly drunk, or driving if anyone's had anything to drink, and I've done that before. If we rewind back to Misty's birthday party in May of 2023, me and Red caught rides back home because one of the friends that was part of that friendship group, that little pocket friend group, was driving people home, and he's had stuff to drink, but he said he was sober, and I was telling Red over and over, like, I think we should just Uber, I don't really feel like it. But I wasn't able to really just commit. And she was like, yeah, but why don't we just, like, have him drive us? Like, I don't want to spend, like, $80 for an Uber. Like, it would just be better this way. And he's already offering, so. But I didn't want to go home separately with Red that night. He ends up driving each of us home. Besides that, that's very, you know, reminiscent of the situation now where, again, Red is getting in the car with a handful of these people who have had things to drink just to go to McDonald's. And this was the very first time I was able to kind of like make a decision on my own from Red. Like, it was actually a positive decision and a positive sign in the right direction. I pretty much was like, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to catch an Uber home. And she was like, no, are you sure? Like, everyone was like, are you sure? Like, you don't want to come? Like, we're good. Like, we're sober. We're fine. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm just going to go home. And so I got an Uber and I left and I went home. And that was actually the first time I was able to make a decision despite Red being on the opposite end and, you know, not feeling guilty about possibly killing the night or leaving the party early. So after that night, we're now in October of 2023. My friend Adam that I mentioned from earlier that I met, he lives in Los Angeles. Me and him start getting closer. We start taking a lot of photo shoots together because I realized that he's into photography and he has a camera, and he offered, like, I know you're getting into modeling at this time. It'd be fun if maybe we could, get together. And I was like, yeah, that would be fun. I'm not entirely sure who came up with the idea first, but I do know that, like, he offered because he said he cares about seeing where I go and he wants to, help me out as best as he can. And I really appreciate him for that. And so we just start taking all these photo shoots together, and it's really fun. He wasn't the very first photo shoot that I ever did, but once I started taking photo shoots with Adam, that was the very first time that I was able to say, you know what, whoa, like, this is actually kind of fun. Like, I actually have a respect for this art form because, I was able to take the SD card home and look at all the photos and just see see this world that we built with all of these high quality images. It was really cool. And I thank him to this day for not just what he's done for me, but for the friend he was at the time that I needed. We started getting closer. We started taking photo shoots. And we just started to hang out more. He was a friend I really needed because I didn't really have any other friends to hang out with physically in LA. And me and Red were hanging out very far and few between, and I really yearned to be out of the house more. And so as me and Adam started to hang out more, I was telling Adam, my college experience was really fucked because of the pandemic and everything. And me and Red were also really clung at the hip to each other. We just went to class and then went back to her house after school like we did in high school. And, it was very like just school home. We didn't really like join any clubs or do anything. And I was really codependent. And so he starts to invite me out to frat parties. We went to a frat party together. It was cool. It was interesting. It's definitely not what I expected, but besides the point, we're genuinely building a really good friendship, and I was happy with where our friendship was going. November of 2023, I start working at Ulta. At this point in my life, it really just consisted of working, going home, doing my makeup, and calling Tris, and getting online on Discord, and just playing video games all night. On the weekends, I would go and do photo shoots with Adam. And throughout all of this, I would kind of just talk to Red a little less and definitely hang out with her less. In December of 2023, I celebrated New Year's in Florida. Everything is fine with the Florida trip. It was fun. It was nice. Remember, on New Year's, my mom went to bed early. She was too tired to watch the ball drop. And I was just in my bedroom. And as I was watching the ball drop, I just started crying, like when the year finally turned, because at that moment, I was on a Discord call with online friends and I was muted, and I just realized I was really grateful and happy for who I had become in that moment. But I also realized that there were certain things that I really wanted that I didn't have. And all in all, I think I was really mostly overwhelmed with gratitude, despite all the challenges I went through. I come back in the new year. I celebrate my birthday with my dad because, again, my mom just moved across the country. And, I wasn't really talking to my sister, and I didn't really have my mom there to orchestrate, a whole family dinner. And it was just the first birthday that I celebrated alone, but I'm glad that I had my dad there because honestly, that was probably one of the best birthdays I've ever had. It was really, really fun. And it was just really, really calm and relaxing, and it was different, and I liked that it was different. In January, I also had lunch with Red. When we had lunch, all she would talk about were the guys she was matching with on Tinder. It was never about how was your trip, how's the modeling thing going, how are you? It wasn't anything about, me. And the minute she picked me up to take me to this place she wanted to go to for lunch, it's like she wanted to eat somewhere specific. She invited me out. I said yes. She picked me up. She drove me to the place she wanted to eat at. And all she did was start talking to me about all these guys she was matching with on Tinder. And then the only thing that she could ask me was like, what does your Tinder account look like? Let me see your Tinder account. Let me help you. Maybe you'll meet someone. not a thing about anything with the new year, not a thing about modeling, not a thing about seeing my mom, not a thing about Miami, not a thing about anything. Of course, the way the lunch went rubbed me the wrong way, despite I still had a good time. Like, I ended up going to Red's house after the lunch, like later that night, doing my makeup, and we ended up taking pictures together. So it was a good night, and that was pretty much it. Now, from between February to April was a time in my life where I just kind of continued to keep growing codependent on Tris. A lot of my time really just consisted of, between February and April, I think things got probably the darkest. My relationship with Tris was really toxic, and I just really started to lose myself even more. I was growing more and more codependent on her. I was being way more easily influenced with not only how she was treating people, but how she was acting and what she was wearing, and just influenced on how I made my decisions and how I was acting. Um, at one point she started to like had a Snapchat account, and she would start to post like these nudes on her Snapchat story. And then I started to do the same. And she was kind of like not advocating for it, but supporting it, and being like, yeah, like we'd both have like an account, and like we would talk about like metrics and how many followers we have and everything like that together. So that was a point in my life that I'm definitely not proud of. I'm not ashamed, I don't regret it, but again, it's such a far representation of who I really am. And again, I'm just disgusted with that sort of behavior, because that's so not me. Like, I was literally selling my pictures online, and I was not doing well. And I think Tris became very cognizant of this, and me losing my identity from who I was when I first met her to who I was becoming. She saw that I was becoming more like her. She would even always say it. She would always say, I'll be honest, I feel like you've changed way more than me in this friendship. I feel like I've influenced you way more in who you are today, and like all of the traits you have now and how you say things and everything. Like, it's more like me. I don't think I've really gotten anything from you. But while that's bullshit, I think it was still very manipulative to see that and to accept that. I mean, you saw that I was starting to lose myself and step out of character when I became your friend, and that's something you liked. You felt power from that. You felt thrill from that. But we're now in May of 2024. It's the month of Mother's Day. So I'm getting ready to go to Florida to see my mom again. And I'm on like a Discord call with Snow and with Tris. And we're playing Overwatch. And there's a point where I get off, and it's just everyone screaming on the everyone's screaming on the call, and it's just dramatic, and I'm just hearing everyone slur and harass each other, and I was just so sick and tired of it. And I had a Mother's Day card to make, because I wanted to make my mom a Mother's Day card from scratch. And I was like halfway done with it, but I told them, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get off, I'll be back like in an hour, I'm gonna go finish this Mother's Day card. They were like, okay, sounds good. And I actually ended up not getting back on for the rest of the night, because not only did I have a card to finish and it took longer than expected, but I knew that I didn't want to go back just because of the environment. Like, I wanted a break from all the noise. I wanted a break from just the harassment. Like, I was just really getting tired of my environment. I was getting tired of what I was doing. I was getting tired of who I was. I was getting so tired of Discord. I was getting tired of the games. I was getting tired of the bullshit. So I don't go back for the entire rest of the night. The next day, I'm packing my bags. I'm getting ready to leave for my trip the following day. Me and Tris don't really talk much at all that day. I finally get a hold of her at the nighttime while I'm packing my bags. And she's just being very quiet and cold. I'm trying to, get her to say something or to show me a little bit of care. It's like drilling a safe, literally. But Tris was supposedly graduating college. I remember asking Tris while I called her, I said, "When are you graduating again?" And she goes, "What do you mean again? Like, I never told you when I was graduating." And I was like, "No, I know you never told me, but I'm saying, like, when are you graduating again? Like, just so I know." And she was like, "I never really told you that." It's like, I just felt really uncomfortable. Like, she was acting so strange. I knew something was up. And I knew that she went cold because I didn't show up when I said I was going to show up the previous day. She was mad that I took time to make a card for my mother, which is something she would never do, which is something that she can't do. But I think she was just, one, I think she was a little envious that I had a mother to go to, you know, celebrate Mother's Day with, and the fact that I was going out of my way to create something and make a card that was really heartfelt. I think it kind of just pushed her buttons in a distasteful way because her situation's very different. You know, at the time, I had literally no freedom. To this day, I still want more freedom, but she really doesn't have any. And not that her mother's dead or anything. Her mother's alive. She lives with her mother, although her mother's never ever around. Triss's mother, she's never ever around. And they don't really have the best relationship. There's really no emotional connection. She wasn't going to be celebrating Mother's Day the same way. So I just knew that she probably felt a little weird and upset by my relationship that I had with my parents. She's just being very cold. And it's really hard for me to get her to say anything to me, but there's random times while I'm just packing and it's very quiet that she'll say things like about random things like, "God, this thing on Instagram is so weird." Or like, "Oh my God, like these people on Discord are really like, I can't." So unrelated to what we were trying to talk about or that's current or relevant. Something that's about her. Something that's just like, it was nasty. It was just nasty. It was cold. And I was tired of it. So I hung up on her. And that was the very first time ever that I hung up on Triss intentionally. And then she called back. And I answered the phone. And I was like, "Oh, sorry. Like, I think my phone crashed." And she still went back to, like, not really saying much, but she started to talk a little more. Trying to just, like, genuinely talk to her. And she was being very closed off and cold. And I was just kind of sick and tired of it. So I pretty much, like, said I have to go and pack. And, like, I'll call you tomorrow when I'm on the plane, whatever. Like, bye. Good night. This is the point in the story where everything changes. I start to just randomly get this one tarot reading that just tells me something that really resonates deep with me. And it was a very clear sign in that moment. Like, it was talking about something that I had really felt, but that was never being validated when I was just, I've always had to defend my opinion or defend myself and explain myself to people, and I was always misunderstood. But it told me something that really made me feel seen and heard. While I was in Florida for Mother's Day, when I'm in Florida anyways, I think I connect even more spiritually deep just because I'm surrounded by a lot more nature. That home has always just been a healing grounds for me. At this time, my mom is getting like a surgery done for Mother's Day, and I'm supposed to be taking care of her. So this was the first time in Florida where I really wasn't glued to my phone. I wasn't on Discord 24/7 talking to Triss. I didn't have enough time or energy to even give because I was too busy taking care of my mother who was recovering from a surgery. Not just that, but this time around something just felt different. Like, I just wanted to be more present. I wanted to be off of the phone and not glued to my phone for the whole trip. Not just because I knew that I couldn't, but also because I just didn't want to, especially for the role that I was taking on as a caregiver. I was in Florida for about 2.5 weeks, Tris rarely ever texted me, ever called me. When I was when I was, about to board my flight, I was texting her saying like, "Okay, like I'm getting on the board, I'm flying now. Like, love you." And then I would get off the plane hours later to be in a layover, and the text would be read and she wouldn't respond anything, and then like I would see that she's in a call on Discord. And then eventually she'd be like, "Oh, like love you too." Besides the point, we didn't really talk much while I was on that trip in Florida, but I just like got the feeling that she was being very distant and cold with me because I wasn't able to give her my energy. I wasn't able to give her the time and commitment that I had always given anytime, anywhere. Anytime I'm anywhere. But for this particular trip, I was very present and in the moment and not on my phone or anything. And I was also with my mother having a good time, which is something that is hard for her to relate to at times. So I think having that envy mixed with the comparison of our situations in general, I feel like she was just being really cold towards me, but I wasn't putting up with it. Like I wasn't going to fuel a fire that wasn't there, you know? I was too busy taking care of my mom. And then one night towards the end, she calls me, you know, because of what Tris was doing on Snapchat, it ended up getting her in trouble and she ended up getting banned. If we rewind to between February and April, when she was posting, explicit photos online, ended up getting her Snapchat account banned. And I remember talking to her about it. And I was like, yeah, I literally noticed that your account was missing. And I was like, did she block me? But I almost couldn't believe it. I didn't know if you got banned or if you blocked me or whatever. And, I was really confused. And I'm sorry. And, like, you should try to appeal and get your account back and whatever. Because she held a lot of sentiment to her Snapchat account just because it had, like, a high score. And, she had all of her contacts on there and whatever. And, of course, Snapchat memories. So I was trying to just be there for her and comfort her, but I was also being genuine when I was like confused on if she actually got banned or if she blocked me or whatever. Fast forward back to now, she calls me and she says, "Hey, like, I can't see you on Grindr. What happened?" Because we had each other on Grindr because we favorited each other when I was in Arizona. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. Let me check. And so I opened the app and it says, "You are banned." Like, you are permanently banned. It didn't tell me why. I never knew what the reason was. I was really confused. And as I was looking, I was like, oh my God, apparently I'm banned. I didn't even know I was banned. She was like, oh my God, like, I thought you almost blocked me. Like, I didn't know what happened. But, like, oh my God. Like, she kind of, like, threw the response that I gave her about her Snapchat ban at me. And something in my gut told me that she was behind the ban. Now, that's not something I'll ever be able to prove. I really take that with a grain of salt. But something told me that, like, for that to be the reason why she reached out, when she was intentionally not reaching out to me, made me feel like that was something she was behind to try and get my mood down. And it was even just the response, like, that something about it felt weird. But I was like, oh, well, the end of an era. Oh, well. I honestly was, like, happy about it because for the longest time it was hard for me to stay away from Grindr, which is disgusting and sad to say. But, especially throughout the pandemic, like, I was hooking up with, like, different guys and I always kept regretting it and telling myself I'm done, I would never go back, and then 2 weeks later I would go back. And it was just like a really nasty cycle for me. But to be banned and to not have any way back in was like, you know what, fine, this is good. Like, you know what, I'm happy about it. I am confused. I don't know what got me banned, but I never tried to appeal it. At that point in my mental and where I was at in life, I was ready to let it go and I was happy about it. But I also felt weird. After I was banned, well, whatever. I kind of just shrugged it off immediately. Like, we didn't touch on the Grindr conversation for long. It was literally 2 minutes. And she starts to just go on and talk about, like, all this drama that's happened on Discord. And then, like, all this drama between her and Cole and how, he's still talking to her family, which she doesn't want, whatever. I'm giving her advice about Cole, and I don't think he's the best for you in this life. Like, he's done a lot of things to hurt you. And, like, if it's your decision to keep him around so you can use him for his resources, then that's on you. But, like, don't complain when you're getting hurt. I was really sick and tired of hearing it. And I ended up just kind of, like, wrapping up the call. I was watching one of my favorite movies, Kill Bill. And we were on FaceTime. I told her to look at the camera, so she turned on her camera. And I was, like, lip syncing, like, scripting a line in the movie, because I know all the lines in the movie. And when I was doing that, she was like, "You're weird. Bitch, you're weird." It's like the love at that moment was lost. Back then, she'd probably laugh or say, like, like, what the hell? Or there would be a chuckle or something. But I could just tell from even the response that she was holding something against me. And I felt this, and I even warned Tris, because a few months prior, I remember asking Tris, I was like, are you holding something against me? Like, is there something that I did? Because I feel like you've been really hot and cold with me recently, and I just want to make sure you're okay. She was like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, bitch, everything's fine. What do you mean? She kept laughing. Actually, her immediate response was just laughter. She wasn't saying anything. She actually had to catch herself. And then she was like, yeah, like, everything's fine. What do you mean? And I was like, oh, okay, because it's like anytime I go to, like, take time for my TikTok, you seem to get, like, really cold towards me. Or I just think, like, you've been acting weird. I don't know if you've expressed to me recently that, like, you have a lot of regrets in life and you're not, proud of the major that you chose for college, and you have no idea where you're going because you're about to graduate. And I just want you to know that, like, you can do anything you set your mind to, and you're going to be okay. Like, everything happens for a reason, and, you don't have to get a job with the degree that you choose. It can just be something that you learn that you take with you onto life. And I was trying to just say, like, I just wanted to make sure that we were good because I love and I care about you, and I just feel like you've been really weird towards me anytime I've taken time for myself. And she was just laughing so hard that, like, I think she was kind of gooped that I caught her. But she was trying to recover and make it seem like, she said I was literally overthinking, which definitely was not the case. But yeah, she was being all blasé about it, and she just kind of, like, blew it off. I was like, okay, well, it's good to know that, like, we're on good terms. Then just a few days later, my mom called me while I was heading to the gym, and she was asking how are things with you and Tris. And I was like, honestly, I think things are okay, but they're not that great. I think she's been very envious about me. She's just been very cold towards me, and I think it might have to do with, like, envy towards just, like, my relationship with you, and, like, my situation, the fact that I can drive, and, the fact that I can go out and do whatever I want and I'm not held hostage in my parents' home, because her situation is very weird. She's, like, living on her own under her parents' lease, and they don't let her go anywhere, and they don't let her move out. They want to have, like, very strict eyes on her at all times, and she lives off of their allowance, and she just doesn't have a lot of independence or freedom. And I think she, envied a lot of the independence and freedom that I had, along with a lot of other things. But I was just telling my mom, like, I think she just feels a certain way about it, and I tried talking to her about it, and she says that I was just overthinking, so, like, I'll just take her word for it, but that's how I feel, and it's just a little sad. Besides that, we moved back to today, knowing that she felt envious, and knowing that that was the response, her just calling me weird. I ended up, like, saying, okay, well, I'm gonna get off, but, like, good night. And so she was like, good night. I hung up the phone. I really was just thinking to myself at this point, like, how much energy am I supposed to give into this friendship? Like, what more can I do to just have a friend that shows that they care about me, and that to have a friend that can be consistent in, like, the way that they treat me? Because, like, I'm doing everything I can here. Like, I'm taking care of my mom 24/7. I barely have time for myself. And now somehow, like, I'm fucking up with you too. Like, and I know deep down that it's, like, because I can't give her the time and energy that she wants, that it's, like, a problem for her, and she treats me differently because of it. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I'm pissed. Like, I just don't want this anymore. It's energy. I was so drained energetically to the point where I just wanted to walk away. So on that same night, I didn't block her or anything, but I stopped sharing my location with her. And there's something else I did. There was a reason why I wanted to do it that way. I think I stopped sharing my location with her. Yeah, I stopped sharing my location with her, and I unfollowed her off of Instagram. I didn't want to give her too much notice with, how I was going to walk away from her, but I wanted to just start like setting up boundaries and walking away from her slowly if she's just going to walk away from this. You know what I mean? So I was like, if this is the friend that I have, this friend doesn't need my location. If this is the friend that I have, why am I following her on Instagram when she doesn't even use it? So I unfollowed her. I stopped sharing my location. Now this is the end of my Florida trip. It's Mother's Day. And she just says to me on text, "Tell your mama happy Mother's Day." I responded, "Got it." Next few days go by and I'm flying home towards the end of May. I never get a call or a text from Triss saying fly safe. I never get any sort of anything. We're really she's really distant and we're not talking. And when I get back to LA, literally for the first 2 weeks when I'm in LA, we still have not spoken at all. She hasn't reached out to text me. She hasn't reached out to call me, but I also haven't reached out to text her or call her. She only called me a few times during that Florida trip, and I intentionally stopped returning her calls because I was just starting to recognize through being there and through everything that I want something different. I don't want this anymore. This is draining for me and I want to get out of this. And so that was kind of the way I went about it. I kind of stopped returning her calls because she was being cold already anyways. I was putting in what she was putting in, and then towards the end of the trip, she finally calls me. It's to tell me that she can't see me on Grindr and to tell me about all of her drama and her problems, which I don't even want to hear. It's all about her. And so I give her a little bit of advice, and then I just go back to being myself, and you're just going to call me weird? Bye, bitch. This is not what I want. So I hang up, and that's the last time we ever speak. When I get back to LA, we're not talking at all. We're not texting, we're not calling, and we're just on pause. Back to Red. It's towards the end of May, and me and Red finally hang out again. Remember, the last time we hung out was in January. So it's been a few months. Me and Red go out to grab lunch, and the only thing we ever talk about, this was right around the time, literally same week that her grandpa just passed away, and I wanted to be there for her, and I thought that we were going to have some sort of consolation about that. But even if this was just to get her mind off of it, I thought we were just going to go and hang out and have a good time and catch up and just, I was just trying to be there for her as a friend, and I was excited that we were going to hang out again. And so we go hang out. I pick her up. Immediately, she starts venting to me about this boy she's talking to that she was venting to me about while I was in Florida, by the way, for the last few weeks. Michael's the entire time she's talking about this boy. Then we go and I'm like, "So are you hungry? Do you want to eat anything?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you want to eat?" She was like, "Can we get banh mi?" So I drive us all the way to Northridge. I get the lunch that she wants. At lunch, we're not really saying much. And then we get back into my car. Even in the car ride, all we're talking about is this boy, and it's the venting, it's the whatever. And then we end up going to the mall and walking around and really spending the day together. And not once did she ever ask, "How are you?" Or, "Wow, good to see you." Or, "So how's modeling going?" Or, "How's your mom? How's your mom doing?" Or, "How was Florida?" Or, "How have you been over the last 2-3 months?" Nothing. There wasn't a single question about me, about my life, about the people in my life. Not a single question about anything related to me. It was all about her talking about this boy. And because she just lost her grandpa, I was sitting there giving her the advice anyways because I still wanted to be a good friend to her and be there for her as a friend. Even if you're going through something, still be there. Still, show that you care. You can be going through something and losing somebody, but that's not justification to not show any care towards your best friend of 10 years, especially when you haven't hung out in months. I was really, really upset at that point that that's the day that we had together. And so, I drop her off, I go home. A week or two goes by, and I finally get a text from Triss and a missed call, but it's at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm asleep. And I wake up and I look at my phone and I have like a missed call and I have like a few texts. I have a voicemail as well.
Are you dead? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Quick update though on the leaves.
On the back with the Bass Pro hat. That's what
Yeah.
he showed us.
The text says, "Bitch, where are you?" And the voicemail goes like this: "Bitch, are you dead? Are you good? No, seriously, I've just been chilling. I'm actually in Belize right now. But yeah, I don't know where the fuck you are." Something like that. It was something so weird and blasé, and I just knew that I knew that I was done, and I knew that like this this person has a very hard time not just taking accountability, but being emotionally available and being sound. You know, that's what I get. That's what I deserve. Bitch, are you dead? After not speaking for weeks, you didn't ask me, did you get home safe? How was your flight? How's your mom doing? How are you? Nothing. So I started to realize these people don't give a fuck about me as much as I give a fuck about them. And I need to start doing better for myself. So when I wake up and I see that, I text Triss and I say, "Hey, are you ready to have a serious conversation?" He says, "Okay," with a question mark. And I was like, you know what? Never mind. Enjoy Belize. And so I block her. I block her. And then I go onto Discord immediately after to go and block her. Immediately typing on Discord, and she's like, question mark. I mean, whatever this is not funny. And I just send her a waving emoji, and I block her. You can edit the last message that you sent. Chris ended up using that, and I forgot what she wrote, but she wrote something along the lines of, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you're okay, my guy, but, you know, I gave you plenty of opportunity to reach out to me, and I was just waiting for you to reach out to me. It's my mom's birthday, by the way, and she says hi, and, like, she hopes you're well, but take care, my guy. Like, whatever's best." Something weird, something so weird. And I also caught, she called me my guy, and she used to tell me that a way for her to manipulate guys that she was talking to was to use their name and to make them feel like they were getting close, and then to randomly say my guy when she wants to feel like she friend zones them. So for her to call me that and never called me that before, ever, like, she'd call me babe. She would literally call me babe. And then she called me my guy. I was like, I'm done. Like, nothing. I don't need to respond. This is the right decision. And it's just funny how I saw through her the whole time, but I stayed in it out of love. And that is the end of Triss, by the way. A few days later, I end up giving Red a call, and I end up just telling her, I've been thinking about it, and I think just like everything that you've done and that's happened between us has really hurt me. The last time we hung out, you didn't ask a single question about me. All we talked about was you and this guy, and I wanted to be there for you because your grandpa passed, but I was still really hurt that you didn't ask any questions about my life, considering we haven't spoken in months. And I also feel like it was fucked up when you try to cherry pick what things I went to with Misty, and how you try to have me not, how you pretty much controlled me to not hang out with X and Y in Arizona, and just everything. And like, you didn't want me to come to your birthday. I also thought that was very fucked up. And when you were gaslighting me and you threw your depression card on me after coming back from Florida when we were supposed to go thrifting with poker. That I also felt was fucked up, and I just felt everything was fucked up. Nothing's changed, and there hasn't ever been accountability taken. And she was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, I just thought it was free reins to talk about whatever we wanted, and if we had things to share, we would just share them. You know, we've been friends for a while, so I was like, yeah, we've been friends for a while, so when you go that long without saying anything, yeah, it is like it was just yesterday, but you would still think that you would still ask, how are you? You know, like, for her to not, it's not about that. She's still a good person. I want to believe that, but she was like, so what are you going to do? You're just going to throw me away like that? And I was like, I mean, I'm not throwing you away. And it's funny that she said that, yet she literally threw me away after college. But she said, I just need time to myself. Like, I just want a break. And I want to be able to, like, focus on myself and love myself, because I think I've been putting you first my entire life. And I think everything you've done, whether it was intentional or not, has hurt me. And I just want to be able to have time for myself now. And she was like, okay, well then, like, when am I supposed to call you? And I was like, don't call. She was like, okay. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get back to cleaning, so bye. She was like, bye. And so I hung up. A week or two goes by, and then I block her. And that's the end of Red. Absolutely hold no resentment against any of these people, but I just realized that there's certain growth that needs to happen in these people that I can't wait around for. And there's certain qualities in these people that I just don't want. And it's called narcissism. And I don't want that. And it's called emotional unavailability. It's called being immature. It's called being dramatic. It's called being inconsiderate. It's called being careless. That same month, in June 2024, I confront my boss about not really receiving recognition at work. You know, for how hard I work. They have these cards in the back that they hand out to employees who do a good job. It's just like a good job sticker, pretty much. And I was like, why have I never gotten one? And I don't know, he was just kind of fighting me on, like, why I haven't deserved one. And I was like, I feel I deserve one. I feel I've worked really hard. Yeah, he ended up giving me one, but I really just started to not like my work environment because I felt I was being ostracized and isolated a little bit. I felt people were talking behind my back, and I thought that their energy started to be really different when I came back from Florida and had a little bit more self-respect for myself. But yeah, so I had the guts to actually confront my boss about the recognition. The conversation went whatever. A few weeks later, as I'm working, I have one of my managers come up to me, and she's like, hey, you didn't hear anything from me, but I just want you to know that, you know, we'll call the boss's name Mark. And she was like, Mark just wants to talk. Mark may want to talk to you later. He says you've been seeming like upset or annoyed, and he just wants to check in with you and see how you're doing, but you didn't hear anything from me. And I was like, okay, thanks for telling me. And so then Mark calls me in, and we sit down, and Mark goes, so there have been some complaints that you've been hostile. And I was like, hostile? What do you mean? Complaints from who? He was like, numerous sources. And I was like, well, who? Like, if someone's going to call me hostile, I want to know who it is so that this can be clarified. And, like, for the most part, like, the employees, like, the management team. And I was like, what do you mean I've been hostile? He was like, well, we just can't have you do that. And I was like, first, hold on a minute, because this isn't about me getting in trouble. This is about my character. I don't want someone to be calling me hostile and not giving me not giving me some meat. So tell me who said I was hostile. And I pretty much just told him, like, you know, I'm sorry if I've came across any sort of way, but I really have just been a little bit more to myself. But I think perception is reality. And even though people may view me as hostile, there's nothing that I actually did that was hostile. And maybe it's me just, like, upset or to myself, and there was nothing I've ever done to be hostile, which he couldn't actually say because I never have. I never went sideways at anybody. I never screamed at anyone. I never got into any sort of arguments with anybody. I've always been super, super politeful. In fact, I was kissing your ass. But just because I came back from Florida and had, a bit of some self respect, and I'm less kissy kissy ass kissing and, pretending to just fake a smile. I was just, one, I was going through a lot because I was losing the people super closest to me. So I was already super like hermited. But two, I didn't have the energy or the care to pretend to show up the way I used to. I just wanted to be however I wanted to be. And I was telling him, like, this is really like, I was just telling him, like, I haven't been hostile for anything, but like, I wish we'd be able to. I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I don't think we ever get to talk. And sometimes I feel it's hard to talk to you. And he says, yeah, like, I feel like it's been really hard to talk to you. Like, I think sometimes you just come across really shy and timid. And I'm like, shy and timid, but I'm hostile? Isn't that like the complete opposite? Um, Besides the point, I think it was literally just bullshit. I think he was using the word hostile to try and mark me up because they wanted me gone. They didn't want me there anymore. They were trying to find a reason to fire me, but they couldn't. And I ended up leaving. And as I walked out the room, one of my coworkers comes up to me and she asked me, she was like, so what was he talking to you about? And I was like, oh, just nothing. She was like, is your attitude? And I was like, no. And that girl loves gossip, but, I also thought in that moment that it was really fucked up that we were supposed to have a conversation that's supposed to protect my privacy, but apparently everyone already knows what conversation we're going to have and what it's going to be about before I even know. And for everyone else to know my business makes me uncomfortable. And so then a few weeks later, I end up just quitting. I call them and I say, I'm quitting. Despite my dad saying, do not quit unless you get another job ready, unless you already have another job, don't quit. Don't make mistakes that I made. And you always have to have a security blanket to fall back on. I just couldn't take it because every day I went to work, I had like the most anxiety. I felt I was disliked. I didn't want to be there anymore. And it just wasn't healthy for me mentally anymore to be there. So I ended up just quitting, regardless of what my dad said. And it's funny, even though I didn't have another job ready, I just trusted myself and trusted the universe. And 4 days after quitting, I got signed to a modeling agency. 4 days later, I sent submissions again for the third time in a row. It's funny, like third time's a charm, but I sent in the digitals, and literally 10 minutes within sending in the digitals, I got a response back from an agency. They wanted to meet me. 2 days later, we met. And on that same day, while I was still there, I thought that they were going to like take time to consider and then call me. While I was there, they said, so what do you think? Like, do you want to sign? Like, are you ready to sign with us? And I was like, yeah, like, why not? Let's do it. And so that was a really good day for me because that was a big goal of mine that I really wanted to accomplish for a year. And I was really proud of myself in that moment, but it also felt very anticlimactic. But I was still very, very proud. And I was glad that I trusted myself and was learning to make decisions for myself despite what the people who say they know what's best for me, what they say. You know what I mean? Over these next few months, I've really just learned how to flow and take it easy and learn how to hermit and to trust myself more. I've asked myself what wasn't working. Over this time, I've gotten into a lot of arguments and disagreements with my parents.
That wasn't the way I would kill them.
You shouldn't have come here.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Now we know who you are.
Oh, Evelyn. Oh, I would accept anything about you, but I need to know. So look, just tell me. Okay, just tell me.
Please. Yes. He is abusing me. He is scratching me. He is in my face. I want him out of my house. He is not a resident here. He does not live here. He is not on my lease. And he is abusing me. Yes. 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 Thank you, officer. Yes. What time will you be here? Yes. His name is Jacob Green, and he is abusive and dangerous, and I will need him out of my house immediately. Get out. Pack. Get out. Pack. I don't want you here. I don't like you. I hate you. Pack.
So you're lying to the police?
I'm not lying to the police.
You're lying.
Get out of my house. Pack your bags and go.
Why would you lie to the police?
I will pay for a hotel for you for
Why would you lie on me like that?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It doesn't matter. They're Florida, they don't play the motherfucker. This ain't LA, motherfucker. Dorothy. This ain't LA. I'm not gonna kill myself over you. Because I'm ready to kill myself over you.
I don't get what you're saying.
Pack your fucking bags. I will pay for a hotel.
You have a hotel booked and ready and everything?
I will get you a hotel booked and ready for a week.
Well, when you have that ready, my bags will be packed.
I have it ready. I'll have it ready.
Hey, get me an Uber.
I'll get you whatever you need.
Okay.
I want you the fuck out of my house.
Sounds good.
And then I will pay for you to go back to LA. I recommend you call your sister, who's willing to take you in.
I've heard you the first time.
Okay. She's willing to take you in more than your fucking father.
Mm-hmm.
Because she loves you.
I understand.
Regardless of what you believe, she loves you.
I got it.
So, pack your bags.
I got it.
Okay. Let me know when you're packed. I'll get you out. I'll pay for everything. I'll pay for your flight.
Got it.
I'll put some money in your account. So you have a little bit of money in your account.
Got it.
I want you out.
Got it.
Thank you. Let me know when you're packed.
I'm packed. You know, just when it came to me speaking my truth or telling them how I've been hurt or speaking up on childhood trauma or expressing my feelings or setting boundaries even, because that's really something that they're never used to. Again, I was like the kid that always kept my problems quiet because I didn't want to burden anybody. I was like their golden child, is what they literally say. But through this time, I've really been able to not just stand up for myself, but to just be honest and to speak the truth and, you know, set boundaries. And I think that's been really hard for both my parents, and we've gotten into a lot of disagreements. And it's ended in a lot of mistreatment on my end, I'll be honest. Onwards through the rest of this year, it's really, this awakening has really just been like a blur for me. But now I'm here. I'm knowing, I'm learning, I'm changing every day. You know, I think that everything happened the way it needed to. You know, Red came into my life in a moment where I needed her. I was going through divorce. I needed something that felt permanent, and Red was that rock of a friend that I needed. And I needed to feel that sort of safety in a friendship, and I definitely felt safe in that friendship. But she started to change a lot, and I was changing. And I think we not only just grew apart and were no longer aligned, but I started to realize the disservice I was doing for myself over the years. And it was through the really difficult situations and through the pain that I was able to understand what it is that I needed. And once you know that, you can move forward towards what it is that you do want and take whatever action you need to take necessary to actually get there, to let go of what needs to be let go of, to accept things that need to be accepted. You know, Triss was in my life when I needed her. You know, I was thrown away